Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano video. If you're new, make sure you hit the subscribe and the notification bell, because what I do here is all about Cardano, the Cardano ecosystem, and also taking a look across the overall crypto market to see what's going on. So finally, over my head goal, back at it now fully, and today it's time to take a look back at what has happened this week. So we'll look at obviously the Bitcoin all-time high, the ETF that went live, as well as the new ones that are now in the pipeline, pension funds now investing in Bitcoin. Look at how the market generally reacts. What is the general flow of money when we see Bitcoin hitting all-time highs, when other coins can potentially run as well. On the Cardano side, we'll look at the Bondly Finance announcement of a collaboration for an NFT bridge. I'll also show you the white paper from a project that came out yesterday, which looks very, very promising. Definitely a project to keep an eye on in the space. We'll look at smart contracts. We've seen a fairly big jump in the number of smart contracts on chain this week for Cardano, so I'll show you that and talk about the difference between the types of smart contracts as well. So look, we'll get into it. If you get some value, please do give the video a like, leave a comment down below as well to let me know your own thoughts on this, and I will have a giveaway at the end that you will need to put something specific in the comments for the giveaway, and also share it out if you think others can benefit. So let's jump into it. Okay, we'll start out here looking at the NFT bridge that has been created by Bondly Finance to allow people to bring their NFTs from Ethereum over to Cardano. Now, it says about NFTs here, but bridges in general are going to be very important, and I would presume they might be able to bring anything over through this, but we'll wait and see what the details are. But in general, this would allow people to bring their NFTs from Ethereum over to Cardano, and this is a big feature because right now you look at the fees that are over on Ethereum and they are crazy and they don't look like they're getting any better. It does work the opposite way, that NFTs could move from Cardano over to Ethereum, but I can't see many in the CNFT space right now moving over to Ethereum with everything that's going on there. Bridges in general, though, will play a big role in attracting liquidity from other chains to come into Cardano. So we're lucky enough in Cardano that we do have a very big community here. We already have a thriving community. When lots of other chains launch their money markets and everything like that, they do have a lot smaller community, so they really do need to pull in liquidity from the outside. We do want to do that with Cardano as well, and I would expect to see lots more bridges coming up over the next few weeks as we get towards the dApps. I'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. But what that allows people to do is, if you have funds on other networks, you can bridge them into Cardano and then use them within the money markets or within any of the dApps on Cardano. Then what this does for Cardano is it drives the number of transactions on chain, drives the utility, the number of people using the actual blockchain. So this is all good, and this is what I talk about for the long time, that what we want to see is people using the chain. That's what's going to give us longer term, higher sustained prices rather than just spikes up and down every so often. So on top of that, we see with smart contracts, this week we've seen a jump in the number of smart contracts that are registered on chain. So taking a step back, we did get smart contract functionality on September 12th, but we don't have all the tools yet that projects need. I've mentioned the PAB, the Plutus application backend, a few times recently. The last video, I'll put a link to it down below, talks a bit more in depth about that and when we might see it, hopefully sometime in November, but nothing official yet. The Cardano 360 event is happening next week, so hopefully we might get some timeline on that or official date on that release. But what's interesting to see here is the jump this week. So the 19th of October, there was only 50. And then the 20th of October, that number went up to 137. So 87 new contracts were added in that 24-hour period. Now, some people look as well over here and they see time lock scripts and they see, what's that, 12,000 scripts there. I even seen a news article talking about these time lock scripts that are on Cardano, and once they release, things will explode. But I don't think the person who wrote that article understood what they actually are. If you look down here, Plutus scripts are real Plutus-based smart contracts. So this is what the Alonzo hard fork gave us. These are real smart contracts. Time lock scripts, these are generally used for NFTs. So what happens is every time there's an NFT collection or a token, there's a policy ID that actually creates them. The script has its own policy ID and it can be executed at any stage to create new ones. But when you put the time lock on it, it means that after a certain date, you cannot create anything new with that script. So it means that if a collection says they will only have 10,000 NFTs, then the 10,000 NFTs are run. But if it doesn't go past the date, that whatever the time lock is on that it can't be used after that, then they can go in and reuse that at any stage and just generate new ones. So that's what the time lock comes in. It's not that the smart contracts go into unlock at a certain date and then things explode. They work the opposite way. They go to a certain date and then the contract is locked that it cannot be executed after that. So Pluto smart contracts are the ones to keep an eye on. I've seen lots of rumors about what these are. Some talking about testing for the PAB, some other applications that have come out and said, yes, we are releasing smart contracts. They are testing different things on chain. So it's great to see this number going up. And I do expect this to start growing a lot quicker as we get into November and lots of the DApps are looking to try and get live. Right now, I would say the majority of them are waiting for the PAB to go live, the DApp connector as well. There will be some of them that need their audits as well, but hopefully a lot of that is in line that when we do get the PAB, the projects are ready to go. But when I get updates, specific launch dates for projects, I will let you guys know as well. So this is the project that I said had released their white paper, Maladex. I have mentioned them before. Definitely a project to keep an eye on. These are building a DEX, but it's not just a basic swaps DEX. What they are trying to do, I'll probably actually do a specific video on them and maybe even bring some of the guys on the channel as well, because it's definitely one that I'm interested in. And when you look at this white paper, you'll hopefully see why it has my attention and starting to get so much more attention as well, because the detail in this thing is far beyond a lot of what we have seen already with other projects that are launching. This, I would say, is one of the best, if not the best white paper I've seen in a long time. They go into all the detail that you actually need. Some projects now, what we see is they might have a pitch deck and they have a 5 to 10 page slideshow or maybe a 5-page document for their white paper. But you go through this, even if you're not interested in the project, you will learn so much from the terminology, from the explanations that they use. One big thing that they're looking at is impermanent loss and trying to get rid of that. So that's something people who haven't used money markets before or DEXs might not be familiar with impermanent loss, but I'm going to create a series on that before all of this goes live on Cardano. I want to get kind of a mini series out there to explain a lot of what all of this type of stuff is, because if you don't understand it, DEXs, DeFi, all of that type of stuff brings huge advantages to the chain. But if you don't fully know or have a decent idea of what you're doing, then you can very easily lose a lot of money in it as well. So look, I'm not going to go any deeper into this, but I'm going to leave a link to this down below and check it out. I will probably bring the guys on the channel fairly soon if they are up for it as well. It would be great to have a chat and get them to explain a lot of what's going on here. So what's up next? We had the ETF that went live this week. Great to finally see after years, see an ETF for Bitcoin. Probably not exactly the ETF we want because it is a futures ETF, but now we see the Grayscale Trust are looking to convert their trust into an ETF. But what the important thing here is they're looking to convert it into a spot ETF. So that means that they actually have to own the Bitcoin behind the ETF, whereas a futures one is based just on the price. They don't have to actually, I was going to say physically own the Bitcoin, but you don't actually have to have ownership of the Bitcoin in that case. So this one would be really great to see as well. I have heard talk of lots of other different ones, but I'll keep that for another video. Maybe look at the different ones that are out there and get a bit deeper into the difference between the futures and the spot-based ETFs then. So then we see here that Houston Firefighters Pension Fund makes Bitcoin and Ethereum purchase. So they put 25 million into crypto. And does it say in this post actually? Doesn't matter. So I was reading another post where they said that they wanted to actually own the Bitcoin rather than owning the futures based. They have went for a spot based. So it's great to see that when people are coming in, when big funds are coming in, that they know the difference in actually owning the Bitcoin themselves or their custodian owning the Bitcoin over futures, which is just based on the price. So to me, this is only the start of what we will see for pension funds coming into crypto. It is a big deal to get pension funds coming in because it is an absolutely massive market out there. There is huge money, even within the US alone, in the pension market. So if we start to see more and more funds putting small percentages into Bitcoin, that really will drive the market up. So speaking on the markets then, we've seen Bitcoin hit an all-time high this week. So you can see burst up here to $67,000 on, I think it was Wednesday we got that. And since then we have pulled back, trying to get a bit of a base here. For me, trying to get a bit of a base here to push another leg to the upside. And the reason I have this, actually I meant to remove before the video, it doesn't matter though. You can see before we broke up to the all-time high, we come up here, we had our accumulation here, getting a bit of strength before moving up. Pushed up, and we're back down in this accumulation zone here now. So starting to get a bit of buying pressure around here. So this is the level that I will be looking at. Once we're above $60,000, it's not something I wouldn't worry about a pullback like this. No market goes straight up forever. You could look at this and say, oh, there's the head and there's the shoulder, but I don't believe that this is where, I don't believe this is the high that Bitcoin gets to and then falls. I think Bitcoin is going to go a lot higher. We've never had in the history of Bitcoin where it just goes up past its all-time high and then falls. So if we look back here, there's people talking about a double top as well. So that would be where this is back in April. We come up to $65,000 and then we completely fell away and back up now to over the 65. But to me, Bitcoin is not going to break the all-time high here by 2000 and then fall. We've never had a double top in Bitcoin and just to fall away. To me, this is going to go a lot higher. Again, my own personal opinion on this and what I'm practicing myself. Everyone needs to make your own decisions. And look, taking profits in a market, when anything is in around an all-time high, it's never a bad time to take profits out of the market. Even taking a small percentage off the table, it's never a bad thing. And I will put a video up fairly soon on that, on my own approach to that as well. But looking then what happens in an overall market when Bitcoin starts doing things like that. This is a graph that has been going around for a while now. What you see, this is the general flow of money in a bull market. You can see phase one, Bitcoin starts to move. Everything else generally starts to suffer when Bitcoin is making a move. This is a little bit outdated, I would say now. It's a phase two then is where Ethereum is starting to outperform Bitcoin. But right now what we see is Ethereum and other layer one solutions, I would say, start to outperform Bitcoin. They say here about the flippening, people talking about Ethereum flippening Bitcoin, but I don't think that's the case this time. I think it will be more a case of people talking about what other coin could potentially flip Ethereum. You look at Cardano, even though Cardano is very, very slow at the minute. I'll talk about that in a second. You have Cardano, you have Solana is really pushing up through the markets right now. You have Avalanche, Terra Luna, a little bit further back, but big chains like that are the ones that I would say pushing into phase two now, being able to run along with Ethereum. Generally, it would have been Ethereum, then the large caps, and then going into the real alt season where a lot of the smaller caps and everything like that start to run. But on a high level, what you will see is, and the dominance chart is actually the one to show this. If we look at this here, you'll see Bitcoin goes on a big run, has its put. This is a daily chart actually. Then the dominance starts to fall. This is where money starts to go out of Bitcoin into some of the altcoins so they can catch up. Then Bitcoin on another big run over a few days there. That's where it was going for its all-time high. And then over the last few days, you start to see money flowing out of Bitcoin. And this is funds where people are selling out of Bitcoin, starting to buy back into altcoins. I don't think that this chart here is finished going up either. I think the dominance will go back into the favor of Bitcoin over the next few days, and it will be into November before we really start to see this chart taking a dive. That's when I think we get into alt season, where a lot of money starts to, when Bitcoin goes on to new highs, funds then start to move into some of the altcoins, and hopefully by that stage Cardano will be in a stage to actually start running with some of the other bigger coins and outperforming them if we are getting into DApps, money markets, DEXs, everything's starting to launch. Right now, that does look like towards the end of November, nearly at a best case, I would say. So I do see getting lots of messages of people, should they sell Cardano right now, ADA? I can't tell anyone what to do. For me, if we look at the ADA chart, actually, if you look at this, look, for me personally, I'm not selling. I am watching the chart here and it is boring. There's not a lot happening with Cardano the last few weeks, I suppose. It's just pure accumulation here. And to me, I'm still watching this level down here, $1.89 to $2. This, as you can see, every time we've come down into this area, we've got support here. This is where there's huge buying support here for the ADA price. And this is people who are in anticipation of what is to come. As Bitcoin, as the rest of the market keeps moving up over the next few weeks, I do think we will probably break out of this trend, break up to the upside, but I don't see any individual runs for the ADA price until we get into November, until we get into things like the PAB being launched, then we start to see the D apps launching. That's the time frame that I see we can actually make a proper move for the ADA price and hopefully go up, break the all-time high and keep going at that stage. But for now, I'm not seeing anything major in the chart for the ADA price over the next week or so. We'll wait and see what happens with everything else launching. Now again, that's dependent on Bitcoin holding its 60,000 level and once again pushing to the upside. If we look at the ADA BTC chart, you can see when I done the video last week, we had fallen out of the long-term uptrend, and I was talking about trying to hold 6,000 or 3,000 sats to 3,200. So you can see we just came down to above 3,200 before we got the turn here. This is where, again, if you had all these charts up together, you would see the Bitcoin dominance chart. Where it started to fall is where the ADA price started to go up. And if you looked at other charts as well, other altcoins, you would see very similar in the last few days where they're starting to push back up a little bit against Bitcoin, where funds, once Bitcoin breaks the all-time high, starts to flow into the altcoins. But again, I'm still expecting to see Bitcoin moving up, and this probably will edge back down to test that 3,000 to 3,200 sats level. So that's where I personally am with the charts. Video going a bit longer than normal. I did mention a giveaway in the beginning. So ADA Ape, who is, I suppose, an OG in the space over on Twitter. Anyone on Twitter who's a fan of Cardano, there's a very good chance you follow the ADA Ape. That's him there. So he has an NFT project coming out tomorrow. He has given me one to give away. So one thing I do like about the team is they're actually, you can see the team here. There's lots of anonymous teams out there, but here you can actually see the people behind the project. And ADA Ape, even though he is anonymous over on Twitter, he has been around for a long time. So a lot of people do trust what he is all about. So what I'll do is, actually they do have one tweet here that you can check out. So they have this one here for anyone who retweets it, that there is a prize fund for anyone who pulls out the golden ape, so up to $1,000 depending on how many retweets this gets, and also they get 3 wild warriors as well. So what I'll do is leave a comment down below, mention ape within that comment, and early next week I'll pick a winner and I'll send over the wild warrior that ADA Ape sends to me as well. So I hope people have got some value. If you have, please do give the video a like. Leave a comment down below as well, and don't forget to share it out there to help others hopefully get an understanding of what's going on, or at least my understanding of it, which everyone needs to make up their own minds as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I will talk to you soon.